Morning, everyone. Welcome to LA Chess Club. This is the intermediate class, your lecturer, National Master Ruben on Dangan. This morning, I would like to present a game that I have played with the theme of positional understanding in chess. I played Viktor Osipov, Russian master in the Western State Open, October 2000, 16 years ago, quite a while. This tournament, I've won first place with a score of 5.5 out of 6. And I played him, I believe, in the second or third round. So the game went, I was white, knight f3. Very quiet move, positional in nature, d5. Now, class, when your opponent plays knight f3, they are trying to move order you. In other words, you are prepared against e4. You are prepared against d4. A lot of times, everyone's weakness are how to play against knight f3 and how to play against c4. These are problems of most players I talk to. How to play against this unknown line. We are prepared against e4 and we want to blitz our way with our favorite opening like the French, Sicilian, or e5. Or against d4, we are prepared to blitz the first dozen move with the King's Indian or the Gruenfeld or the Nimzo, right? Well, what happened when your opponents start playing quietly without even showing their teeth yet in the game, and their problem is what to do with the English and what to do with this quiet knight f3. So later on, if you will, in 2 weeks' time, I will tackle that on the black side. This time I will be white. So I'll show you how I move ordered my opponent. I know that my opponent will play the slab defense that is characterized by d4, d5, c4, c6. And so I don't want to have tension on the d5 square. I just want to play casual chess or quiet chess, right? And just wait until the middle game. So I play g3. So not revealing yet white's intention. He played c6. You see the slab favor for black. The flavor of slab is visible here, c6, d5. And of course, it's very logical because it made the bishop that will arrive on g2 appears like biting on a wall, right? That's a very good neutralizing idea. So bishop g2, and now bishop f5, recommended by former world champion Emmanuel Lasker that you place your bishop outside the pawn chain. So, for example, after bishop f5, the idea is to place these pawns on the light square. The bishop is outside the pawn chain, and that gives an opening for the other bishop. So these are basic ideas and logic in a chess opening. Battle of chess idea already shows here, even early on in the game. So bishop f5, castle. Now you will notice that 4 moves and white already achieved the principle of opening play. I apologize. And for here, for us to appreciate the beauty of time in chess, it's very important for us to understand that every move, we consider them a tempo or time, and you don't waste time just moving pawns aimlessly. They need to pertain to something. Development, control of center, or king safety. 3 principles of opening play. Here, in 4 moves, white achieved that principle. You control the center, not with a pawn, by a knight. Develop the pieces rapidly, especially the king side, because that's where you castle. And then castle early. So the principle is achieved in 4 moves. Very economical. Very American. Right? So after castle, e6, now you see the idea. Black erected what we call in modern chess theory as the triangle system. Very strong idea. This is actually played for to stifle that bishop on g2 to make sure in every position there is what we call a star piece. On white's camp, the bishop is our star piece. On black, we don't know yet. But in this type of system, most likely, the bishops will create some damage on white's position if he plays it properly. So, black is still hoping to for me to get back to pure slab with d4 and c4. However, here is one particular way of playing against your opponent. You should understand that your opponent expects you to play a particular move. And if you cross out that move that is in their mind, you actually win the battle of psychology. Psychology plays a vital role in chess nowadays. So you don't play what your opponent wants you to play. You play something that he doesn't expect. So here he expects me to play d4. Okay? But here I played this timid or quiet move, d3. Unassuming, no ambition, right? You know, very quiet, very tame, but it contains a lot of venom, right? First of all, it neutralizes that bishop on f5. Light square strategy. I want to break the wall, and for you to break the wall, you need to use bricks. So I will use my pawn as a wedge to destroy my opponent's wall. If my pawn is in d4, it's hard for me to fight on the light square unless I have the c4 and the e4 square. But I need those to be protected. So I need to put my pawn on d3 to create a wedge against the d5, either by e4 or by c4. It neutralizes bishop as well, class. Okay? So h6, very logical, very Lasker's idea for over 80 years is still seen, visible in our age and time. This h6 idea is Lasker's. Preparing, for example, knight bd2, e4, the bishop has a safe place to hide. Okay? Or the idea of knight h4, bishop h7. So that's the idea of Lasker, h6, very logical. Knight bd2, again here, probably chess praxis will tell you that do not block your pieces, right? So the logical probably move here with accordance to the demand of the position, maybe knight c3, maybe c3, but you know, to most players, not knight bd2. Why did you block your bishop? Now here is the explanation, class. In King's Indian type of position, or in this matter is a King's Indian attack, this bishop on c8, we have no clue yet on where it will be very useful. Now, it has its diagonal on c1. Therefore, even if you don't develop that bishop on c1, it is what we call indirectly developed. Okay? It occupies a space or a diagonal. So the temporary blockade of that bishop doesn't really affect the strength of that bishop, because this knight will not stay there or remain there for good. It's planning an assault on this bishop on f5 by means of e4. So okay, that was just the idea. And plus, if knight c3, you don't want your knight to be kicked, right? Because now your opponent gains space, gains time, gains tempo. Not to mention, where does your knight go? All right. So knight bd2 is according to the demand of the position and how this opening should be played. Okay, so knight bd2, he played knight f6. Now there is a trick here. Our desired e4 is not possible, because after e4 he just capture and he recaptures, and look, he captures back. So there's so many of them watching that square. We lose a pawn. Okay, so the battle of chess idea rages on in the board. You have an idea, your opponent simply prevents it. I suggest that you play that in your game. You have to understand what's your opponent's threats, captures, and check. What are they planning to do to you? And then, according to Karpov, former world champion, you have to play to stifle your opponent's activity. And you know, every opponent that you try to stop them from their idea, they become frustrated. Right? Have you played like that before? Your opponent saw your plan and they just stop it, and you were angry. Okay, you were mad, right, Ferry? Okay, so e4 was stopped. What to do? Here, the correct move here, according to the books, is queen e1. At the time, I don't understand yet the depth of this queen e1. I have the same idea, except that it's actually considered now as dubious. With the same idea, right? Now, you see, my idea is to push e4 at all costs. However, it contains a problem, and you will see it in a little bit. He played, his mistake was bishop b4. That's his next move. If his move was simply bishop c5, or even bishop d6, it really inviting e4. No, bishop c5 only, or bishop e7. These are the two good square. For example, bishop c5. If I continue to proceed with e4, this is what's going to happen. Capture. Capture. It seems like there's a lot of us watching that square. But then no, knight takes. And after knight takes, the intermezzo queen takes queen. We will find yourself. What happened?
Wow, terrible.
We're down a pawn. The center disappear and the bishop become monsters. That's what happened. If you push through with your plan and your idea, and your opponent is indirectly, without, it's not obvious. You don't see it, it's not an obvious move, but it contains a very deep, well-conceived idea. So now you understand why modern theory recommends queen e1. To still push e4, but at the same time avoid the exchange of queen, the pin. It's the pin that became mightier than the sword. That's the pen, by the way. Right? It become a problem. It's the pin. So this kind of thing should players should be aware in their game. What we call subtlety, depth, intricacy are all part of a chess game or a chess plan. He made a mistake. This is a dubious move. His reaction was equally dubious.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
What would, I mean, I know you played the game a certain way. What would have happened if you would have moved f knight 3 to e5?
e5, that's actually a line. Very good. Later on in one of my games, I actually venture in that line with the idea of preventing the knight from jumping, because once he comes out, I exchange it, and then my bishop will be open. It's actually one of the lines. It's a playable line. Very good question. Anybody else? I like that question. No more? Okay, here, he played bishop b4 when bishop c5 or bishop e7 is better. Bishop b4, be careful with this type of moves. He's a Russian master, Viktor Osipov. Very strong guy, but this cannot be explained. You know, like the saying goes, every Russian schoolboys know that you should not give your opponent a tempo. And here, c3 gains a tempo, also gives access for the queen outside when it was boxed in. Pre-move. You were given a pre-move. Take it. It's free, right? Anybody here wants freebies? I like freebies. Right, so c3. Bishop e7. He could have went there immediately. That gives me an access with queen b3. Attacking what? Anybody? The only weakness in black's position, b7. In a chess game, you have to locate your opponent's weakness and you have to be aware of them. Even as the game progress, you should be aware. At the back of your head, this is the weakness. Right now, I cannot attack it, but in due time, it will be final. Here, the b7 is under attack. So our opponent needs to react to the attack. That means the initiative is on your side because he has to react to your moves. So what did he play here? Played queen b6. Typical Russian. They want hand-to-hand combat right there. Queen b3, I'll pace you with my queen as well. A lot of players don't like this type of position, and for me as well, I don't like to exchange queens so early in the game. I mean, life without queens is just horrendous. Life without women. Am I right? Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Right. So, what did I play here? I said, okay, let's have a pace off. I will continue and proceed with my plan. Let's see who will crack first. Because this is the thing. If I capture, don't be fooled that he will have a double pawn. He has an open pile. That's worth the compensation. Now he will use this double pawn, for example, to create a wedge to attack you on the c3. And then if that's not enough, he will use the other one. That's the use of these double pawns. You use them as a battering ram. So, and in the same manner, if he captures my queen, I have the open file. So that means you don't want to capture to benefit your opponent. You don't want to play a move that will benefit your opponent. Okay? It should benefit you. Here is one game that you need to be selfish. Chess. You cannot be thinking of your opponent's well-being. You cannot be nice. They're not nice to you. Right? You have to be brutal. Sorry. So there's a kid in there. So queen b6, queen b3. I proceed back with my attack e4. Okay, gain space, creating a tension in the center, what we call an incident. America is known for that, creating incidents. Okay, we create incidents, so something for your opponent to worry about. Remember, chess is about giving your opponents problem. If you don't give them problem, you will receive one pretty soon. So, e4, bishop h7. Okay, what do we have here? There is what we call tension in the position in the square e4 and d5, as well as a tension on the queen side with the queen facing off each other. Nobody wants to give in. Okay? Now, you might be prepared for exchanges. You are not prepared against a stronger player who doesn't want to break the tension. What to do in this type of position? You just, when you are trying to burn firewood, what do to keep the fire burning? You throw more woods. Same thing in chess, right? He doesn't want to break the tension. Okay, then I will create more problem for you. But here, in the manner that the problem was played, it seems very quiet and unintimidating, and probably has no idea. h3. Now, before everybody criticized this quiet move h3, I have studied a lot of Petrosian's game, Smyslov, Anatoly Karpov. They are known to play this type of moves, what we call prophylactic. You just prevent your opponent's active continuation in the game. What is that active continuation? For example, there is a threat of knight g4. Got queen there? Not to mention knight bd7, and then knight e5, and then knight g4, and then knight e5, exchanging pieces, which benefits black. So here is the rule of Karpov in type of position. You just prevent your opponent's continuation. You just prevent it, right? Now, there's players that are concerned of their own position, of their own camp. There are players who are concerned of what their enemy is doing. Okay? They always have an intel with them in their mind. Okay, what is he up to? Right? America is again known for that. We have our FBI files. For everyone, there is a card for each one. Right? So here, white is just trying to understand his opponent. Right? Know your opponent. The art of war. So h3. Okay, castle. After castle, what do we have here? Now, if we can just evaluate the position real quick, tell me the pros and cons of the position class. What do we have as white, and what does our opponent have as black? Evaluation time. So, in my class, you will learn how to evaluate position. And the rules of evaluation are this. Material, king safety, time, or in other words, time, force, and what is the other one?
Look season.
Times, force, and space. Very good, Brian. Thank you. Times, force, time, force, and sports. Time, force, and space. So here, with regards to space, equal. With regards to force, equal. Nothing was exchanged yet. Here is the minor difference. Very small. With regards to time or development, we are ahead one tempo. No, nobody's ahead one tempo because this is not developed. This is not developed. So, you're right, Perry. Everything is equal on all fronts. Right? Development. However, these two, we have the same. And whose move it is? After castle, it is white. So, because the advantage of the first move, that means the balance is still, the equilibrium is still about equal. There's still balance in the position. So, after castle, your move, knight e5. In a delayed form. How you like that? That knight on e5 will create some problem for black in this position. The idea is bring the other knight. Maybe even f4 if possible, but the queen is still on b6. So here, he traded de4. Okay. How do we recapture, class? Let me ask you.
Bishop.
No. Why? Should we recapture with a? Why we shouldn't capture with a piece?
Well, you should. I think you should capture with the d2 to the pawn to e4.
Remember, class, in Battle of the Center, you need to capture with the pawn because this is square. Once you captured with a piece and black is reluctant to exchange, that means the d5 square will be available for a piece. And so therefore, in a Battle of the Center, you really have to use your soldiers.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So if what I was thinking is if I took the pawn with the knight, right?
Yes.
Then if he took my knight and moved his side, then you could move into queen check. You could fork his rook and queen with.
If knight takes,
Yeah.
and then pawn takes,
And then I was gonna say 5. What is it? E5 to D7.
there is a knight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who said that? Yay! So that was the idea. Plus, here, my idea is if you capture with the knight, your opponent doesn't have to capture as well. He can simply develop. So that makes you less controlling the center, because now this d5 will be occupied by a piece that will be dangerous to your position. Okay? So it is very important that you have to capture immediately with a pawn, so that even if he doesn't capture or not, you still have a pawn there, and the pawn keeps this bishop out of play, keeps this knight out of d5, and so with that pawn move, you create problem for your opponent on activity, right? And that's very important in chess. So capture with the pawn, knight d, e7, knight b, d7. What should we play here? This is under attack. Do we exchange? Now, if we exchange, I think, remember here, in rules of exchanging, and in military term, rule of engaging, there you go. All right? In exchanging, you have to make sure that it benefits you. Now here, what I meant by that is the position for black is a little bit cramped with the f6 knight and the h7. They are cramped, right? In other words, if you facilitate exchanges, it favor the defending side. That's just a rule of thumb, right? When you allow exchanges in the position, you help your opponent to be able to breathe in the game when they are already suffocated. Okay, you keep them in their state.
So knight D, F3. Is it your turn?
White to move,
Knight D.
knight dc4.
Okay.
Look, now the transformation class of the knights on the center with the tempo and the queen, forcing the pace of, okay, now what you're going to do. Not to mention the opening the bishop with one move suddenly creates a lot of problem in black's position with just one move. How this knight were transformed in very dangerous squares, c4 and e5. Now the queen really has to move because it's under attack by the knight. So what can you suggest for black here?
Either C2
He doesn't want to capture. He doesn't want to give me an open pile. So
queen to e5.
b5 you just I don't think it's a good idea. Let me see. It's probably playable. Maybe just simply capture and then capture. And yes, if queen b5 you can capture, because what's going to happen, we will have 3 against 2. This is considered 2 because it's double. He doesn't have an open pile. His open pile is C, but we have a c3 b2 combo. And after capture, knight takes, and the transfer of this knight, for example, in e3, you will see now the other bishop will rule this diagonal after the possible f4 and e5. See that? This become a weakness. This become a weakness. So queen b5 doesn't work. What else we have in the position? It's a good idea, but is there any other place for the queen to go?
C5.
C5, you're inviting another tempo with bishop to e3,
Oh, yeah. He has to go back to C2. Or
right? So again, don't give your opponent a tempo. There's other safe move, not to mention this one might drop, right? Queen takes b7 too is possibility. So queen c7, probably the only move unless you want to exchange queens. He doesn't want it to. So queen c7, final move for white here that creates a threat or a problem.
C1 to
Bishop, very good. What we called a discovery, a lining up, an X-ray. Something is still blocking, but while this knight might move here, attacks the bishop or the rook, the queen is under attack. That was the threat. So bishop f4. You see the transformation from earlier quiet beginning of white transform into this type of position. What just happened? You just apply the principle and a chess game. Go ahead.
Would it have been better for him to go back to the 8th rank then with the queen?
That should be probably the best move earlier, queen d8, but a lot of players are reluctant to play it. The reason is it seems like when your queen was out, you connect the rooks. By going back to d8, you created a clog back rank once again. So, but you see, it's probably the best move after this situation, arrival of bishop f4 here. Now he probably thought I should have played queen d8 because now it's a major threat. What did he play here?
But queen d8 would have left b7
b7
pawn
hanging and even c6. Very good. So you cannot go d8 either. So instead he played queen c8. Protect, get out of the range. The queen seems very overloaded because it tries to protect the b7, the d7, And now it clogs the back rank for the heavy artillery, the two rooks. Okay? So now you will notice that something went wrong in black's position. And your opponent will feel it. You will see that they will start shaking their head. Something went bad in my choice of moves. Right? And now now their mindset is how to defend a lost position here. It's already considered strategically lost for black. Because why? Let's compare all the pieces. This bishop is bad compared to here. This bishop is more active compared to this. The knights are more threatening than these two knights. The queen is compared to the other queen. Now this looks more really like a queen. The other queen is there in the background. So we see the difference with regards to player, man to man. Yeah. After bishop queen c8, what should you play to continue and strengthen your position or continue to build up your forces?
Is it white to move?
It is a win, but you see, this is the hardest part. How to win one game. All right? How to wrap it up. How to finish the position.
It's white to move.
White to move.
The rook over to D.
A
Yeah, okay.
to
To D.
very good. Look, a picture of harmony and coordination. Right? Your forces are just all properly coordinated. Nobody is stepping on anybody's toe or anything, but everybody is doing something. Right? This is the type of chess that I want you, class, to play in your game. Harmony and coordination. Harmony and coordination. So, after RAD1, knight C5. Yay, a one-move threat. Threatening the queen on B3. Queen is under attack. Where should you go? C2. Now, question. Is it, a lot of players will be uncomfortable with there is a bishop lurking in the background that has an effect on the diagonal, what we call an X-ray attack. But again, a threat is only a threat when your opponent can take advantage of it. Now, it looks dangerous, but looks are, another thing in chess. Right? It's not what it seems. It's an illusion. It looks like black was able to get back in the game. Let's see. After queen c2, of course, a natural reaction after you planted the knight is to, here is a blunder. I think we are approaching time trouble when he played this horrible move. I said, are you on drugs? Are you on crack or something? I look at him, what happened? And then after the game, he told me that never in his mind that he thought his queen was on c8. Like, I think it's a natural. All of us think that our queen, what we call the blindness sometimes in chess, it happens to the best of us, that we never thought that our queen will be in a particular square until we realize that, what is it doing there? So the next move is? A4. Yeah, bring this guy to the elementary school. A4, come on, man. So knight b6. All right, queen e8. Oh, so he said to himself, might as well get rid of that knight. That knight has been giving me some headache. And that justified their mistake, right? So knight x. But you see, the reason I show this game is the level, intermediate class. This happens in your level a lot of times. I don't have to show some very high type of game. So, but the student will not be able to understand. This is much more understandable, right? Because this is how you play sometimes in your level.
You can go down to A6. He has a nice diagonal.
Well, yes. So what should we play here now? It's time to clean up, finish the game, stop playing around, just be serious. And after queen takes A8, what should you do, Perry?
I'm sorry, what?
What should I do? Okay, let's first attack. Now again, all throughout the game, these two are out of play. This is the only active piece in black's camp. We attack the active piece. Kick him out of that beautiful square. B4. AB4, CB4. Now, before you criticize that, that's a very low quality game. But, you know, it's the arrival at this point. How to make your force your opponent to make mistake. That's what I want you to learn in playing strategical chess. All right? Playing positional chess is when you arrive in that position, getting there is not that easy. All right? Of course, when we are already here, this is so easy. Knight B6, boom. Well, how did you get there? Right? After a lot of problem you gave to your opponent. Where does the knight go? Knight A6. All right. Now here, all you have to do is keep those pieces out. And what should you play? The pawn is under attack. A3. Look now. The knight and the bishop cannot move. The knight and the bishop cannot move. Okay? Sometimes it has to be explained to us that this is how a chess game should be played. Just want to make sure that your opponent doesn't move. Freeze them. Freeze. Right? So when that happens, you have all the time in the world to clean up the position or wrap it up. Finish it. After B4, CB4, A3, played rook D8. Again, his position will be relieved if there will be exchanges. I think this is the time to play some drastic and desperate time requires desperate measure. I should play knight D5 here if I was black, taking advantage of that pin. Just do something. Just don't wait for the axe to fall. Just do something. Knight D5 seems like a very playable position. Instead, rook D8, I don't mind exchanging, but I don't mind giving him the D file as well. And let him exchange. So, queen, C4. Now, getting out, of course, of the... Then queen C8.
Would there have been any advantage of moving the queen to, was it E2? Was it on the...
C2.
Yeah, I move it to E2 so that it had
So what's the idea of the E2?
going up.
To the king side? There's a knight guarding our squares going there. So I want it to centralize because I want this two to create a passer on that side with the help of this bishop. So after queen c8, this was my next move, bishop e3. Now we really prevent his idea of queen c8 to play c5. Right. After bishop e3, exchange, knight c7. Okay, now he wants this square, b5. He's surviving, you know, he's playing. If you're not careful, you know, in thinking that the game is already won and you start walking around, checking other people's game, checking the place, checking the girls, you know, right? No, don't do that. So you have to concentrate and focus on the chess game. It's not yet over until it's over. How many mistakes we did, you know, we become so overconfident and cocky. Then we lost our game. It's a sad loss. So you have to be concentrate. Okay, so after knight c7, prevent knight coming to b5 by what? a4. Okay, there you go. We're marching in. After a4, queen b8. You see, the queen has no good place to go. It's just keep going back to... It's just waiting. It's just waiting for you to make a mistake. And finally, hopefully that he will get a chance. Knight d7. Now time to exchange. You see that knight on there in e5 that we played long time ago? It was still there. Only now it moved. And the idea of exchange now is that after knight takes knight, you have a rook on the 7th rank, correct? So instead, he doesn't want that. He played queen e8. What should we do? Exchange this time. Knight takes. Knight with check. Bishop takes. And class, find me a move that will really should force your opponent to surrender. You know, well, not totally surrender, but keep them, send them away. We have the 2 bishop. He has the 2 bishop. The difference is the rook against the knight. However, the knight is not active. This knight is planted in the middle. I think the game is still playable for black. But because this knight is so far from the battle, and this bishop has been out of commission for so long, right? It seems like the position is totally hopeless. But you still have to play the correct move. Here, attack something that is not protected, class. Anyone? Which one is not protected here? Which one? Bishop b6. Very good. The knight is not protected. Attack it. So that minimizes your consumption and time. What kind of move should I play here? Well, locate anything that is not protected and attack it. The best way, especially if you play blitz. All right? It's a good way to have that mindset that, okay, what to move? Find something to attack. Okay, bishop b6. Knight a8. Look at the knight. Do you envy me? I'm in the corner.
So rook to d8.
That's a bishop. Unfortunately, I would love to do that. That's my idea. There's a bishop there that watched that square. However, after I played this move, Queen c5. I'm letting him exchange that knight for my bishop, so that my queen will dominate and escort these pawns to become queens. He played bishop e7, attacks the queen. Queen d4. Okay, now we are occupying the whole d pile. Power and control. Power and control.
If you move the pawn, oh, no.
He played bishop g6. Okay, plus find the move for black, for white here. White to move.
What about getting rid of black's e7 bishop?
Very good. How?
Trading the b6 bishop,
So what's your move, Rita?
bishop c5.
Bishop c5 is good. The most forceful one is, remember, he controls this square. So it's not bishop c5, but bishop d8. With the same idea, this time, capture, capture, we snag the knight on the corner because of the check. Maybe even checkmate. If this bishop was here, it could end the checkmate. But bishop d8 forces the matter. King h7, he cannot capture it, so he played king h7. He's trying to escape. Here you don't have to exchange yet because he cannot do anything. Your opponent is in semi-sugswang position. The knight cannot move. The exchange will favor white. So all you have to do is continue to tighten the screw. Okay. h4. h5. What else? He cannot move. Nobody can move here. So we have all the time in the world to suffocate our opponent. f4. Queen f8. Okay, now he finally moved with the idea of bishop takes pawn. Okay, but we're not going to allow that. So bishop takes e7. The way the game finished was quite instructive. So here, queen takes. Find a move for white. Removing all the life from your opponent's position. Queen c5. Exchange. The idea is the knight is trapped. Okay, the exchange will favor white here. Queen c5. He doesn't want to exchange because after this, I don't know where the knight is going. Because if you play knight c7, you have rook d7, and this one drops. So he doesn't want to exchange. He played queen c7. Now, brutal move. Easy.
Queen G, five.
Yeah, there's no need. F5. Who said F5? Brian is the man. Bishop is trapped. Okay. EF5. EF5. Queen takes G3. Some kind of hope for him, creating. But there's no check. There's a cover. The king is safe. After check, you just have to finish it. He resigned long time ago. This is just analysis. Queen G5 should be done. Queen F2 also. Queen G4. Rook D8. The knight is under attack. Where does the knight go? Knight C7. And the last move, class. You have to find it and wins. Very good, little boy. Queen F8. And wins. How to finish the game. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the positional game today that caused your opponent to blunder. The position that shows when we played knight b6 was easy. It's how to get there and force your opponent to make concession and make mistake. That is an art to be, studied and to learn from all of you. I hope you guys enjoyed today's class.